Hello, welcome to part 2 of the Parsnip's nose. Just a reminder, remember that Tommy had built a snowman that had walked off the street and he was now with the police. The Parsnip had angered the snowman and now they were going to work out what to do with this huge snowman that was terrorising the neighbourhood. One of the police officers wanted to know why the snowman was so angry. Tommy told them that it might be because he gave a parsnip nose. Tommy noticed that as the snowman got bigger and bigger, so did the parsnip, which irritated him even more. "And more snow," he bellowed, which sounded as though a strong wind was blowing down the road. Another police car arrived to give assistance, and after getting out of the car, Officer Coolhead, who had been serving in the force for many years, said straight away, "This is a job for the army. It's far too big for us to handle." Not long after a radio message was made by Officer Coolhead, there was a sound of a heavy helicopter coming their way. Soon more helicopters were heard and could be heard landing somewhere nearby. A unit of soldiers appeared along with a lorry towing a large gun. Officer Coolhead told the captain what the situation was, as he could not believe his eyes. Looking through his night vision binoculars, he is able to see a huge snowman eating more snow off the roofs, which caused some tiles to be knocked off. Also, he knocked cars over or pushed them along as he went along the road. "Oh, I say, he's just flattened a Jaguar, a nice red one. I was after one of them," the captain remarked. "We'll have to move fast before he does any more damage." The gun was placed in position and primed to fire. Didn't have time to bring a tank, but this should be just as effective. It didn't take long to get the gun fully operational, and the right angle for the gun was calculated. "Fire!" the captain ordered. The shell headed for the snowman as they were waiting for a loud bang. There was, but not with the snowman. It was fortunate that there was an empty building site behind the snowman, as the shell went through him and it made a hole in him, but he soon patched up with fresh snow. Some damage was caused at the building site. The captain said, "Oops, they'll have to build that bit again." The snowman found that filling the hole made by the cannon took a little time to fill. So bending down, he made a snowball and threw it at the gun. He missed. He got another snowball ready to throw, but was hit by another shell that went through him. The hole was smaller to fill, and the shell blew up another new house being built. "I do think the builders are going to be pleased with you," Captain Coolhead told the captain. Instead of filling the holes, the snowman decided to throw more snowballs. It was a deadly game of snowball fight. The fourth snowball was a direct hit. There was silence till the captain spoke. "He's bent my gun, the rotter." The snowman roared again, and though victorious, "More snow!" After repairing the damage, the snowman went his way. Officer Coolhead was thinking how to defeat this 20-foot monster as he observed that filling the holes did slow the snowman down. "What explosives do you have?" The captain said they have a couple of bazookas and a number of grenades. The police officer told the captain his plan. If that didn't work, then they'll have to wait for spring for him to melt. The captain ordered the two operators of the bazookas to distract the snowman while the others were busy making large mince pies made of snow. Hitting a tall snowman wasn't the hard part. It was making sure that the explosives didn't do any more serious damage as he went through the snowman. The holes by the bazooka were smaller and easier to fill. The men had to dodge the huge snowballs that came their way. They had to maneuver the snowman toward the building site so as to keep the damage down to a minimum. The returning snowballs were deadly by noticing the impact they made when they hit the ground. Even when they broke up, the flying pieces of snow hurt. By firing in a certain direction, the army was making the snowman walk to the building site. One bazooka shot knocked a bit of his bottom off. This made the snowman look quite indignant. Soon the bazookas had stopped firing. The snowman had spotted something he liked. "Snow pies!" was heard being shouted by the snowman. He headed toward them. One by one, he picked them up and gulped them down, not noticing that a thin wire was attached to each one. The wire was firmly tied to the ground, and the other end was attached to a pin that, when pulled out, would prime the grenade. All 4 snow pies had been eaten, and there were 4 pins on the ground. There was a moment of stillness, and the captain said, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, take cover! Everyone took evasive action, and then came a loud burp. "Was that it?" Officer Coolhead asked. Before the captain could answer, there was a gulp, the snowman followed by a loud muffled explosion. Boom! 2 large tennis balls shot up in the air, and a large parsnip flew very high skyward. The snow dispersed in all directions, as if a sudden blizzard had arrived. Every person had to shelter for a couple of minutes, then everything died down after the howling wind dissipated. The army collected everything together, including the bent gun, and the helicopters returned to be reloaded. The captain was pleased the mission was a success. No serious injuries, I'm pleased to say. Just 2 men with broken arms. Can't think what to put in the report. Wouldn't seem right in saying injured in a snowball fight. Well, what? Cheerio. Officer Coolhead had picked up the 2 tennis balls and handed them back to Tommy. Getting his real address, they made sure that he got home safely. They will talk to him later. Tommy felt bad in causing all this amount of trouble. All he wanted was to build the biggest snowman possible. When he arrived at his house, he could see the parsnip had landed right in the middle of the front garden. Tommy's parents had come to the front door, not realising that Tommy had been outside. Officer Coolhead explained briefly they had found Tommy wandering out on his own and brought him back. Sunday morning, when many get up later, they could see the cars had moved or damaged. Roof tiles were missing and some chimneys were damaged. All they concluded was there was a severe snowstorm last night that did all the damage. The police never did come back as Tommy looked out of the window, looking at the middle of his garden, but he knew one thing: never put a parsnip as a snowman's nose. Thank you for listening to the Parsnip Nose, and doing some other stories which I'd like to encourage you to subscribe to. So you look forward to seeing me in the near future.